Y'all, welcome to I Said What I Said. Today, I'm going to be talking about a few different things, a few different promotions. I am really excited, so let's get into it. First thing I want to talk about is some tea. So, for those of you who were not with us, we streamed New Japan Pro Wrestling's pay-per-view Wrestle Kingdom, and I thought this was interesting. So, it had Kenny Omega versus Gabe Kidd, which is like already my match of the year contender, right? Okay. It was Kenny's return to New Japan, and there was some drama that unfolded. We didn't hear it on commentary, and I don't know if that's because, like, we weren't paying attention because we were on the pod, so, like, we're not always, like, super listening to commentary or what, but there was some drama that went down. There's a New Japan commentator named Chris Charlton, right? And so, apparently, mid-pay-per-view, homie, like, popped off about Tony Khan, right? Calling him, like, a money mark and, like, just totally shitting on him. I'm going so far as to talk about like Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay, Okada, and basically saying like everything that they're doing in AEW is like so much lesser than the things that they did in New Japan, and like basically like they should have stayed because AEW is shit. Like totally shitting on Tony, even shitting on him for having the C2 tournament, which is kind of similar to the G1 that they have in New Japan, but it's a tournament that's like just super focused on like the best wrestling available, right? So it's always like just all these bangers. But there was a lot of controversy around this because I think so he was suspended for 2 months when that happened. And a lot of people were saying that like it was just like part of the show, like it was almost like it was like work, whatever. And I guess the locker room was mixed. I don't think it was he wouldn't have been suspended in my opinion if it was like for a story of some sort. But I thought it was interesting because of two things. One, New Japan and AEW are partners. They work together. They have the whole Forbidden Door fucking show that they do every single year together. On top of the fact that like AEW wrestlers do like excursions in New Japan, and sometimes New Japan wrestlers will pop up in AEW shows, and like so it was weird to me. I feel like I think a big thing with partnerships in wrestling is a lot of people are always like one company gets the better of the other. I feel like AEW and New Japan is a pretty even partnership. Like both companies have wrestlers going to the other one's shows. There's definitely not like a big thing that I had with TNA WWE is like the TNA wrestlers kept losing. Like they were taking just all these fucking L's off the WWE wrestlers, and I was like, I don't know what this is doing for TNA, right? But like New Japan wrestlers get such a pop on AEW shows and they win often. And then AEW wrestlers will go to New Japan and like sometimes they win and sometimes they don't. It's very like I feel like it's very even. So this guy calling Tony Khan a money mark and like super shitting on them doing work in AEW is so weird to me. I don't understand. It feels like I feel like most of the tribalism that I see is pro WWE. Obviously there's the occasional AEW tribalist too. But most of what I see is WWE. I never see like New Japan tribalism, and that's kind of what it feels like. But I wanted to put that in there because people were talking about it a lot and we missed it on the pod. So give me your thoughts. I just don't know what could possibly have started that conversation. I do think it's concerning that the locker room was mixed. They didn't give, when I was like researching this, like a number, like a percentage of like, was it 50-50? Was it 75, like 25? Like they didn't give a percentage on like what mixed is. But with Kenny Omega, Ospreay, Okada, like those are some of the most respected wrestlers like in the industry ever. So very weird vibes. But it does seem like AEW may be more welcoming than vice versa, other way around. So we'll see. It hasn't even been a month. It's only been a few weeks. So I guess we'll see what happens when that 2 months comes up and that guy comes back. But pretty ballsy to do that on like a huge pay-per-view talking about the owner of one of your company's partners, no? Like it's a super weird situation. Continuing on with the tea, and we're kind of still on AEW. I wanted to talk about the Brit Baker thing because Brit Baker, she is one of the first wrestlers that I really liked in AEW, but I feel like we have to talk about this, so I kind of added this in last minute to the plan. But it's just, I've seen mixed stories on she's causing a lot of problems and no, she's not. Majority of the like reliable sources though are saying she is causing problems. And Johnny and I have talked about this a lot and kind of gone back and forth. And you know me, I'm conspiracy theorizing and I'm like trying to figure out what's going on, even though it's none of my business. And so I guess latest reports are saying that it started sometime in 2022, that she started causing all these problems with all these other wrestlers. Fast forward to now, it's basically become like there is only a few women who will even work with her. Like the rest are saying no. And that in itself throws up multiple red flags to me. I love Tony Khan, but one of my biggest gripes about the way that Tony seemingly, obviously this is an outside perspective, like a fan looking in, but from my perspective, one of my biggest gripes with Tony in the way that he runs AEW is that he doesn't always put his foot down. Occasionally he does, as we saw with Penta and Ray Fenix. But it seems like when it comes to like contracts and like guys are about to dip on him to go to WWE, he's like, well, fuck you. And he'll put his foot down for that. But he doesn't seem to put his foot down for like behavior things. CM Punk, how fucking long did it take for Tony Khan to like really put his foot down with him? Technically, he never did because it was Bryan Danielson and the fucking committee that fired Punk, technically. Not even Tony Khan. Chris Jericho. To my knowledge, Chris Jericho doesn't have like locker room behavior issues, but how long have the fans been asking to not have Jericho on TV anymore? Like literally, he had retire chance. That's insane. And he's continually putting him on TV, continually putting him in all these new storylines and feuds, and we're all just like, oh my God, take him off TV. I'm sure Jericho doesn't want to be on TV, but it's like, Tony, sometimes we have to make like decisions that we don't like, right? And so it seems to be something similar flowing into the Brit Baker issue. First and foremost, I think when it comes to wrestling, there are going to be obviously like wrestlers don't like each other. I have coworkers that I don't like that much, right? And so it's like there are going to be people you have to work with that you don't like. So all of these women being like, no, I'm not working with her, that's kind of annoying. If I could be honest, that's kind of annoying in my opinion. And I'm not saying that like Brit hasn't possibly been a bitch to like these women, but it's like sometimes you have to work with people that you don't like. On the flip side of that though, Tony needs to step in and instead of being like, okay, she doesn't want to work with her. Okay, she doesn't like her. Okay, Brit, just cuss her out. Okay, that takes her. Okay, stop. You need to tell Brit to chill the fuck out. And then you need to tell these women, this is what we're doing. This is the story. You want to be on TV? This is what we're doing. Because on top of the obvious that this is becoming a huge fucking mess, and if this has been going on for 2 years, I mean, depending on when it started in 2022, we could be rolling up on 3, right? So if this has been going on for this long, Tony, we got to figure some shit out. We got to sort some shit out. Get a therapist in there if you fucking need to, but we got to figure something out because on top of the obvious problems that this is like bringing up and this is causing, this is probably keeping so many women off TV. If you're sitting there trying to organize who Brit can talk to and work with and who doesn't like Brit, and then stop, because you're taking all of these women off TV as you're taking all this extra time to figure out who the fuck can work with Brit. That's so obnoxious. So I don't know. I want to love Brit Baker. I want to believe she's just going through a hard time. My personal conspiracy theory, I think Brit had no problem giving up her spot as like the main woman on the roster when people were like, we're sick of seeing her winning everything, a few years ago. And then I think she left not realizing how much the women's division was going to grow and thrive. Somebody, I want to say it was Ibu, but I'm not sure, said that what she values most is her spot. her spot on that roster. And I think over the last couple years, she stepped away, I think not realizing how much the women's division was going to thrive without her. She tries to come back. She had a stroke. She's out for over a year, right? She has to take all this time off. She comes back. It's not a great match with Mercedes. And I think she's just like, I think with each of these like things happening, she's like feeling her spot slip away. And it feels like she's spiraling because of that. And it's like, I understand, like, you can lose your spot real quick in wrestling. It's hard to be at the top and stay there. I get that. I hear that. But this is not, none of this is going to help. If everybody just hates you and no one wants to work with you, this is not working in your favor, right? And then on top of that, you're just going to bring the women's division down. Like, if nothing else, if you can't keep your spot, one of the things I really respected about Brit was her being like, the fans want a break from me, so I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna get off TV for a while. I'm gonna let other women do their thing. And I was like, that's fucking awesome. Because a lot of people wouldn't do that, wouldn't risk their spot. She did. I respected that a lot about her. Now it feels like it's not going very well, and she's kind of freaking the fuck out. All that to say, I hope they get it together. I am open to Brit going to WWE. I don't know what she'd really do there. I've been saying for a while now that Brit needs like a huge like repackage, a rebuild, if you will. For like a new gimmick, a new character, a new story, a new like something, because she's been pretty much the same over and over again, outside of like, it's the same kind of personality, but going from like heel to face, and kind of going back and forth. So I would like to see her just have a totally new character, a new full like repackage of her. I think without that, I don't know how much she does in WWE. Like, they would definitely have to give her something off the bat to do like a character or story or something. And what I mean by that is like, you can't just throw her into random shit like they do Penta. Penta has a very clear character and presentation, and I think Brit needs a change before they can do something like that. I'd love to see her stay in AEW just because she's one of the AEW originals. Everybody kind of refers to her as like the fifth pillar. So I'd like to see her stay because I'd like to see what she can do, but I am beginning to feel like that time has possibly passed. But also simultaneously, apparently Tony doesn't want to fire her, and with injury time, she's fucking stuck there till like 2026, 2027. So let's just hope that Tony Khan gets it straightened out. We gotta step on bitches' necks, Tony. Okay? We gotta start calling out some shots here. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm going to go record the second half of this now that's going up on our Patreon, where I'm going to be talking about Malachi Black in WWE, Kenny Omega, and the Death Rider stories in AEW, and we're going to talk a little bit about some Liv Dom, so make sure that you go and check that out. But otherwise, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.